What does Hadassah have to do with
She's the noise.
ICT in China? She's a noisemaker?
Uh-huh.
I don't know about all that.
Yes, she is.
I wouldn't blame her.
Watch the next time she comes.
I think she's part of the solution.
No,
I don't think she's part of the problem.
she's the noise maker.
You're the noisemaker. You know that, right? Did anybody ever tell you were the noisemaker?
No.
He's the waymaker. You're the noisemaker. But,
Hadassah's my
so who's
pal.
teaching today? Anybody?
My noise making pal.
Somebody said they wanted to teach today. Whatever. So I'll be preaching a message, Baruch Hashem Yehu, on this Kadosh Shabbat, the 9th day of the second month.
Estaré predicando un mensaje en este Yom Noveno del segundo mes.
Last week we were packed, yes?
La semana
That was
pasada
exciting.
estaba lleno.
There wasn't a seat in the house.
They were.
Baruch Hashem.
They were full.
I didn't see them. Maybe you saw them.
They were full.
The seats were full. And what a blessing. Honestly, we've been doing conferences for
We should do a
the
conference
greater
every
part of 30 years. That was the best conference. The Ruach. So those of you who were at that conference, you got the best. Even if you missed other ones, you got the best. It was awesome. All 3 days were awesome. One day was better than the next.
Yes.
It was just awesome.
Hallelujah.
And because the Ruach of the people, one mind,
Amén.
one accord.
Esa conferencia fue maravillosa.
You can't demand
había una
being
sola
echad.
rúa.
You are echad.
Estábamos echad.
It's not something you can demand
Amén. Hallelujah.
or command. People came here
La gente vino aquí.
being echad. And one day was best of them. All 3 days were marvelous
Todos los 3 también fueron maravillosos
and different.
y diferentes.
And that teaching of Rav Asa
Y esa enseñanza de Rabasa
on Euroclido,
acerca de Euroclidón,
I hope you got the full benefit.
espero que hayan
Did you?
recibido el provecho entero.
You guys missed some of it, but did you get the full benefit? You can get it on tape, on video. I mean, it's everything that we struggle with.
Es todo con lo que batallamos.
There's a verse in Zechariah that Judah will be the bow,
Hay un verso en Zacarías que Yahudá será el arco
and the 10 tribes the arrow.
y las 10 tribus las flechas.
As the sons and daughters of Zion fight the sons of Greece
Así como los hijos y las hijas pelean con los hijos de Grecia.
for the true emunah that was once and for all time
Por la real
delivered
emuná
to the Kedoshim.
que fue entregada de una sola vez a los Kiddushim.
So our battle with Euroclidon
Así que nuestra batalla con Euroclidón
is basically the sons of Zion versus the sons of Greece.
básicamente es los hijos de Sión en contra de los hijos de
And we
Grecia.
need both houses walking in Torah.
Y necesitamos ambas casas caminando en Torah.
That's why Zechariah says that Judah is the bow and Ephraim are the arrow.
Por eso dice Zacarías que Yahudá es el arco y Efraín son las flechas.
But Yahuwah desires us to stay in Crete.
Pero Yahuwá anhela que nos quedemos en Creta.
He was saying Crete, but we pronounce it Crete. And in Crete we ordain elders and zechanim, and we learn and study Torah.
Y en Creta ordenamos a ancianos, a Zechanim, y aprendemos Torah.
But the winds of Euroclidon blow
Pero los
us,
aires de Euroclidón vienen y soplan. Vienen y soplan en contra de nosotros.
And take us out of Yahuwah's will,
Para sacarnos de la voluntad de Yahuwah.
which can symbolically be found at Crete.
Que simbólicamente se pueden encontrar
I don't know
en
about you
Creta.
guys, but that was an awesome teaching.
Yo no sé de ustedes, pero esa enseñanza
That
es
was
maravillosa,
Special.
especial,
That was very, very special.
muy especial.
And he's a gifted teacher.
Y es un maestro con mucho talento.
So today's message I've entitled,
El mensaje de hoy, este mensaje titulado
Proof
Prueba,
that the resurrection
que la resurrección
was on Shabbat,
aconteció en Shabbat,
on Shabbat morning.
en la mañana del Shabbat,
Or subtitle,
o subtítulo,
the Shabbat of life.
el Shabbat de la vida.
So we all know that Yahusha rose on the 18th, right?
Todos sabemos que Yahusha se levantó el
The
18
18th of Aviv.
de Aviv,
He died on the 15th.
murió en el 15,
3 days later,
3 años después,
he rose on the 18th
resucitó el
of
18.
Aviv, the Shabbat of Chai, life.
Aviv, el Shabbat de Jai, la vida.
He died on the day of the king.
Murió en el Yom del Rey.
I'm sorry, he had the Pesach on the day of the king.
Perdón, celebró la Pascua en el Yom del Rey,
14.
del 14.
Rose on 18 Chai,
se levantó el 18 Jai
and then sealed us with his name on the 26th.
y nos selló con su nombre en el 26.
Yahuwah, first fruits.
Las primicias a Yahuwah.
But you are blessed
Ustedes tienen la braca bendición
and highly favored
y altamente favorecidos.
because you're going to see today
Porque van a ver hoy
what it took me wrestling and tinkering with and playing with.
lo que me requirió a mí luchar y maniobrar con esto
34 years
34 años
to nail it down.
para poder precisar.
And I just nailed it down just recently.
Y acabo de precisarlo recientemente.
So you guys are going to take that desktop shortcut.
Así que ustedes van a tomar
Those are
esa
nice,
vía
right? Those
corta.
desktop shortcuts.
Van a tomar esa vía corta.
And you don't have to search in folder C and folder A.
No
And E.
tienen que andar busque y busque.
And so Baruch Hashem Yahuwah,
Así que exaltado
you're
sea
going to
Yahuwah.
get the truth,
Van a aprovecharse de la emet.
the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Toda la emet y nada más que la emet.
That took me 34 years to dig
Que me llevó 34 años para
and spit
excavar.
out
Y escupir.
and dig more
Y excavar más.
and spit out
Y escupir.
until I arrived where we are today.
Hasta que llegué a donde estamos hoy.
Now, even Benjamin would not argue. Nobody would argue. Nobody in their right mind or out of their right mind would argue
Y ni aún Benjamín ni nadie podría discutir que
that Yahusha did not rise
Yahusha no se levantó
on Shabbat.
en el Shabbat.
That's almost a given
Eso es casi dado.
in the Nazarene Israelite
En
community.
la comunidad nazarena israelita.
That's almost a given.
Casi es dado.
But we always used to think
Pero siempre pensábamos
that he rose at sundown,
que resucitó a la puesta del
as most
sol.
of you do,
Como la mayoría de ustedes piensan.
or just after sundown.
O después de la puesta del sol.
But I'm going to show you today,
Pero les voy a enseñar hoy.
and I'm going to use two
Y
witnesses
voy a usar dos testigos.
and then come in with what we call the Moshe touch.
Y luego entrar con el toque de Moshe.
I'm Moshe,
Yo soy Moshe.
and this is my touch.
Y este es mi toque.
Okay, so we're going to have the Hebrew,
Vamos a tener el hebreo.
translated by an Israeli speaker.
Traducido por un hablante de
Sabre,
hebreo. Un sabra.
Me'haaretz, Me'haaretz.
De la Eretz, de la
Then
tierra.
I'm going to appeal to the Greek,
Y luego voy a ver en el griego.
and then I'm going to appeal to you.
Apelar al griego y luego a ustedes.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah for that desktop shortcut that we're going to enjoy today.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah, por esa
Because it
vía
took me
corta
34 years of digging and tilling and schmilling and grinding at the stump.
de la que vamos a gozar hoy, porque me llevó más de 30 años de obra, trabajando, excavando.
I would ask Brother Jesse, help me, please.
Y le pido a la Yahusha que me ayude.
Grab the Greek polyglot, take it to the back seat, enjoy, relax. Put your feet up, just make yourself at home. Just grab the polyglot, please.
Tome el poliglot griego.
I'd rather have the polyglot than be called a polytheist. No, I want you to have it, because you're going to be a witness. You're going to be a witness outside of myself. So this was translated by Dr. Daniel Fried,
Esto fue traducido por el Dr. Daniel Fried,
a nice Jewish boy.
un muchacho
Or maybe he wasn't so
amable
nice, I don't know,
judío.
but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Dr. Daniel Fried.
Dr. Daniel Fried.
No relation to Sigmund Freud. That's it's spelled differently. One is Fried, one is Fruit. You heard of Sigmund Freud?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sigmund Freud? I like that. That's funny. So that's good. Sigmund Freud. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. So we're going to prove today not only
Vamos a comprobar hoy no solamente
that he did not rise on Sunday or
que
the
no
eighth day,
resucitó en el domingo o en el octavo yom,
but on Shabbat morning.
sino que en el amanecer del Shabbat.
Not like most of the Messianic movement thinks, which was Saturday night or Shabbat night.
No como la mayoría del movimiento mesiánico piensa que fue la tarde del Shabbat a la puesta del sol.
It's going to be an eye-opener.
Va a abrirles los ojos.
And then I'm going to tie it into the eighth day.
Y luego lo voy a conectar al octavo yom.
Why does Barnabas and the other shlichim insist on the eighth day?
Porque es que insisten Barnabé y todos los otros lijim en el octavo yom.
When he rose on Shabbat morning.
Cuando él resucitó al amanecer del Shabbat.
We'll touch on that also.
Hablaremos de eso de igual manera.
Matthew 28:1.
Mateo 28:1.
And I'm going to read to you from the latest edition
Y les voy a leer de la última edición
of the RSTNA.
de las escrituras de restauración.
This is not the latest printing,
Esta no es la impresión
so you
más
won't
reciente.
find it in here.
No lo van a encontrar aquí.
In the latest printing, which only cost me $1,300,
En la
I got a
impresión más
Jewish discount.
reciente,
Okay, some of you don't make that in a month. I'm spending thousands of dollars on Bibles. I don't know why he chose me to spend money on Bibles. I keep all the Bible printers in business. So $1,300 just to update 5 verses, but they were so important.
$1,300 para
They were
actualizar
so
5
important
versos, pero eran tan importantes
that I went ahead
que fui adelante
and I spent $1,300.
y me gasté $1,300
When I didn't have to.
cuando no tenía que
I could have
hacerlo.
reprinted the errors.
Yo pude haber reimprimido
That's how much I
los
love
errores.
Yahuwah.
Así es como amo yo a Yahuwah.
I could have kept it. I could have kept the
Podía
errors.
retener los errores.
For 5 verses,
Por 5 versos
that cost me
me
$1,300.
costó $1,300.
And not that I'm boasting in
Y
myself.
no que me esté jactando en mí
That's how
mismo.
much I want to do the right thing.
Así es como quiero hacer lo correcto.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. Ya.
Go. Yes. Yes. You gonna get a cough? Where do you find a cough? I thought you catch a cough. Did she say cough or cup? Matthew 28, in the corrected version. Actually, let me impress you first. If you don't get impressed by somebody reading Hebrew, then you need to check your pulse.
Yeah, come on now.
Because even I get impressed
Come on, show.
when somebody reads Hebrew. I'm going to show off a little bit because we're a small group today. Healthy but small. So let me show off a little bit. This is what your average circus ringleader can't do. And most churches, to their credit, are not 3-ring circuses. I won't even touch that with a 10-foot pole. Matthew 28:1.
Mateo 28:1.
Or in Hebrew, Kaf Chet.
O en el hebreo, Kaf Het.
ואחרי מוצאי השבת, כשהעיר לאחד בשבת, באה מרים המגדולית ומרים האחרית לראות את הקבר. והנה רעש גדול היה כי מלאך יהוא ירד מן השמיים ויגש ויגל את האבן מן הפתח וישב עליה. You impressed?
Very.
Yes! Oh, yeah. Praise God. I was cracking up. We had the men's meeting, and I was a little bit tipsy with wine, and Rob Asa started talking about goat, and I almost undid the plumbing. I was like, because when I hear goat, I think of frog, I think of circus, and my mind just wanders to all kind of church hysteria stuff. Anyway, but I realized that the Kadosh men were at the table, so I had to go into another room like Joseph and cry separately and get myself together, put my makeup back on, and come back to the men's meeting. You know, I have to recover that sanctity somewhere. If it's not out there, it's got to be in a separate room. Anywho's, it literally translates like this.
Literalmente se traduce así.
You
Mateo 28:1.
You can get all that. ¿Qué pasa? ואחרי מוצאי השבת, after the finishing of the Shabbos,
Después del Shabbat,
כשהעיר לאחד, as it drew close,
al acercarse
לאחד בשבת, on one of the Shabbats,
en uno de los Shabbats,
באה מרים, came Mary,
vino María, Miriam,
המגדלית,
de Migdala,
the Magdalite,
la que era de Migdala,
the Miriam האחרת, and the other Miriam,
y la otra Miriam,
לראות, to see את הקבר,
a ver la tumba.
to see the tomb, where we get cave. Kever, the English word kever, the English word cave comes from the Hebrew grave or kever. That's where we get the English cave.
De ahí sacamos
Kever.
la palabra en inglés cueva.
All
kever.
languages come from Hebrew, and don't you ever forget it.
Todos los idiomas proceden del hebreo y no te olvides de ello.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
So we have in English, let me do this for you, in the New Restoration Scripture.
Así que tenemos esto en las escrituras de restauración nuevas.
We have 2 Shabbats
Tenemos 2 Shabbats
in one verse.
en un verso.
You with me? 2
Dos
Shabbats
Shabbats
in one verse.
en un verso.
Moreover,
Más aún,
after Shabbat,
después del Shabbat,
we know that is the annual Shabbat of the 15th of
Y
Aviv,
sabemos que ese fue el Shabbat anual del 15 de Aviv,
Chag Matzah,
de la fiesta de Matzot.
it being, or Shabbat having been over,
Ya se acabó ese Shabbat,
meaning the day he died, the 15th of Aviv,
hablando del yom en que murió el 15 de Aviv,
just before dawn,
antes del amanecer,
toward one of the weekly Shabbats,
hacia uno de los Shabbats semanales.
came Miriam of Magdala and the other Miriam to see the tomb.
Vinieron Miriam de Migdala y la otra Miriam a ver la tumba.
So the key of Matthew in verse 1 is that there are two different Shabbats.
Así que la clave aquí de Mateo 1 es que aquí hay dos Shabbats separados.
V'acharei motzei haShabbat, and when the annual Shabbat was over,
Y cuando hubo acabado el yom de Shabbat,
as it began to get closer
cuando se acercaba
for the weekly Shabbat,
el Shabbat semanal,
Kesha'ir, where we have the Hebrew word or, light,
de donde sacamos la palabra or, luz.
as the weekly Shabbat was about to begin at sunrise, because all days in Torah begin when?
Así como
All days in Torah begin when?
todos los yamim en
Sunrise.
Torah comienzan al amanecer.
So as the weekly Shabbat began to dawn,
Entonces, como el Shabbat semanal comenzó a amanecer,
the annual Shabbat had completed.
ya se había completado el Shabbat anual.
So we clearly have two Shabbats.
Así que claramente tenemos dos Shabbats.
Now I'm going to ask Jesse, please, in the Greek.
Y le voy a pedir a Yishai que lea
Read
el
it from the
griego,
Greek, please.
por favor.
But I'm going to use the English from the Greek.
And late of Sabbath.
Okay, late, or as Sabbath was ending. Go ahead.
Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
In the evening,
Mm-hmm.
on day one of Sabbath.
Okay, now that's a mistranslation, because as the Sabbath was ending,
Así como Shabbat iba concluyendo,
the Greek there is miaton sabbaton,
la palabra griega es miaton Shabbaton,
which is the Greek cognate
que es la palabra griega
to the
opuesta
Hebrew,
al hebreo,
lechad b'Shabbat.
lechad ba-Shabbat.
See that miaton sabbaton?
Yes.
Okay, so it should read as Shabbat was ending,
Quiere decir, como el Shabbat iba concluyendo,
as it began to dawn,
al comenzar a amanecer,
miaton sabbaton.
miaton Shabbaton.
In Greek, yes? Is that what it says? Miaton sabbaton?
Miaton
So that
Shabbaton.
word one doesn't belong there, that word day doesn't belong. There is no day and there is no one.
La palabra uno y la palabra día ahí no están.
On this.
Right.
Está italicado.
So miaton sabbaton is one of the Shabbats.
Así que miaton Shabbaton quiere decir en uno de los Shabbats.
So Shabbat had ended,
Así que Shabbat ya había concluido.
and as we drew closer to one of the
Y al
Shabbats,
acercarnos a uno de los Shabbats,
and then we have Miriam coming to the
y
tomb.
luego tenemos a Miriam que llega a la tumba,
Kesha'ir, the sun was rising
como iba amaneciendo el sol
on Shabbat.
en el Shabbat.
That was the 18th.
Ese fue el 18.
See, all this time we all knew that Yahusha rose on Shabbat.
Todos sabíamos que Yahusha se había resucitado el Shabbat.
But what we didn't realize is that there were two Shabbats.
Pero lo que no habíamos visto es que habían dos Shabbats.
So does the scriptures teach a sunrise resurrection?
Entonces nos enseñan las escrituras una resurrección al amanecer.
Absolutely.
Absolutamente.
But the women arrived on Shabbat morning,
Pero las mujeres llegaron en la mañana del Shabbat,
not on Sunday morning.
no a la mañana del domingo.
So for years I thought, the church, they're not that bad.
Por años pensé, la iglesia no es tan mala.
That he rose on the 8th day.
Él resucitó en el octavo
And
día.
Barnabas allegedly tells us the same thing.
Y Barnabé alegadamente nos dice la misma
So
cosa.
how does all that square?
Pero ¿cómo es que todo eso se...
Well,
¿cómo
we'll,
es que todo
we'll
eso
try to
se-
square it up shortly.
Intentaremos arreglarlo cortamente.
Now let's go to Yochanan Moshe 16.
Vamos a Yohanan Moshe
Yochanan
Marcos.
Moshe,
16.
Marcus
Marcos 16.
16. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Hashem Yahuwah.
Baruch Hashem. Yochanan Moshe 16.
Yohanan Moshe o Marcos 16.
And I've corrected this. I spent $1,300, not because I'm a great dude or something like that, because these are key things
Me gasté $1,300, no porque yo sea una
that
gran
need to be
persona,
corrected.
pero porque estas son
Right?
cosas claves que necesitan
I'm a
ser
total dude.
corregidas.
I want to please Yahweh.
Hallelujah.
Not going to put money in my pocket.
Quiero
Take money
complacer
out
a
of my pocket.
Yahuwah.
That's okay. You've never failed me yet. I didn't know how I was going to pay for Asa's airfare, $1,200. The people came up exactly. We took in $1,200. You know what his airfare was? $1,000 plus a rental car. Came out exactly what he needed. Exactly. Not too much, not too little. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Mark 16:2.
Marcos 16,
Stop worrying. He'll meet every need, not every greed. First, we need to learn to separate need from greed. Ube'echad b'Shabbat, and actually, I'm going to go back to verse 1.
Vamos a comenzar en el verso 1, Marcos 16:1.
Vayehi ka'asher, and it was when avar, or passed, Yom HaShabbat, where we get the word Erev, it was when Shabbat had
Y
passed.
aconteció que cuando pasó el Shabbat,
Vatachnina Miriam, and Mary entered,
entró Miriam,
or I'm sorry, she drew near,
se acercó Miriam
Hamagdalit, the Magdalite,
de Migdala,
Miriam im Yaakov, and Mary with Jacob,
y Miriam la mamá de Jacob,
Ushulamit,
y Shulamit,
with Shulamit.
con Shulamit.
They drew near with Samim, which is spices.
Se acercaron con especias
Lavo ulisuch oto, to come and anoint him.
para poder venir a ungirle.
Bahem, with them, or in those spices. They came to anoint him in those spices.
Vinieron a ungirle con esas especias.
Now watch this. So what does verse 1 of Mark 16 tell us?
¿Qué nos dice el verso 1 de Marcos 16?
When the Shabbat had what? Fully passed.
Se completó
Can you
el
get
Shabbat.
that? What Shabbat?
Totalmente.
The
¿Qué Shabbat?
15th, right?
El 15, ¿cierto?
When the annual Shabbat,
Cuando el Shabbat anual,
when he died,
cuando él murió, cuando él murió,
on the 15th,
en el 15,
the annual Shabbat in Leviticus 23, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread is an annual
el
Shabbat.
Shabbat es, el 15 de Aviv es un Shabbat anual.
People say to me, I thought he was supposed to die on the 14th. Wasn't the lamb supposed to die on the 14th, not the 15th?
Que no estaba supuesto a morir el Cordero el 14, no el 15, me pregunta la gente.
Good question.
Excelente pregunta.
He did begin to die on the
Sí,
14th.
comenzó a morir en el 14.
When did the 15th begin?
Cuando comenzó el 15?
At sunrise.
Al amanecer.
What was he doing on the night of the
¿Qué
14th?
estaba haciendo la tarde
Sweating
del 14?
and bleeding
Sudando.
great drops of blood.
Derramando gran gotas de sangre.
The lamb began to bleed on the 14th.
El Cordero comenzó a derramar sangre el 14.
That was not a coincidence.
Eso no fue coincidencia.
Baruch Hashem Yehovah.
Baruch Hashem
So
Yahuwah.
when the next day, the 15th,
Entonces cuando el próximo Yom el 15,
Yom HaShabbat,
Yom HaShabbat,
Avar, it had passed.
había pasado.
Now we jump to verse 2.
Brincamos al verso 2.
Yes, dear.
So the Shabbat fully passes at the Boker.
Correct. It fully passes at the Booker. Now verse 2.
Así que el Shabbat se pasa del todo concluye en el amanecer.
Uba echad b'Shabbat, and on one of the Shabbats,
Y en uno de los Shabbatot,
Baboker,
muy temprano,
Amos, that word sound familiar? Boker Tov, right? Good morning, Boker
en la
Tov,
mañana,
Baboker.
en la mañana,
So Shabbat had passed,
así que el Shabbat se había pasado.
and then one Shabbat had passed, on one of the Shabbats,
Y cuando el Shabbat había pasado en uno de los Shabbats,
Baboker, in the morning,
en la mañana,
Hashkem, they rose,
se levantaron
and Ba'u el HaKever, and they came to the cave,
y llegaron a la cueva,
or to the grave.
a la tumba.
Kezarocha Hashemesh, as the sun was rising in the east.
Como se estaba levantando el Shemesh en el oriente.
So when did they come to the tomb?
Así que cuando llegaron a la
On the
tumba,
weekly Shabbat, as the sun was setting or rising?
en el Shabbat semanal cuando se
Rising.
estaba levantando el Shemesh, sol,
Whoa.
al amanecer.
So sunrise is true,
Así que el amanecer es cierto,
but it's the sunrise of the Shabbat
pero es el amanecer del Shabbat,
and not of the eighth day.
y no del octavo yom.
So we have Matthew
Así que tenemos a Mateo
and we have Mark.
y tenemos a Marcos.
Jesse, would you read that, please?
Yahusha, léanos eso, por favor, en el Poligot
16, 1 and 2.
16.
Now we're reading from
Unidos.
the not Septuagint, but the Greek Polyglot.
Del Poligot griego.
Go ahead.
And the elapsing of the Sabbath.
Okay, so once the Sabbath was passed, go
Una
ahead.
vez que se pasó el Shabbat,
Mary Magdalene and Mary the one of James and Salome bought aromatics having come, they should anoint him.
Mm-hmm.
And exceedingly in the morning,
That means dawn. Okay.
Y al amanecer,
Now do the Greek. Don't manage in the English. Does it say miatan sabbaton? Yes, it does. Right. Very early.
it's not transliterated.
No, but he can see it. On one of the Sabbaths, is that what it says?
verse 1.
No, verse 2.
Okay, verse
Go ahead.
2. Yeah, they all say that. Maybe Tom
Miatan sabbaton. Okay. One of the Sabbaths. When on one of the Sabbaths? Now go to the end of verse 2. At the what? Setting or rising of the sun? The end of verse
It
2.
says it twice, that exceedingly in the morning, and at the rising, it says again.
There you go.
Rising.
Twice it states the rising,
Dos veces dice al amanecer,
early in the morning.
temprano por la mañana,
On what day?
en que yo,
Miatan sabbaton.
miaton Shabbaton.
Okay. The word week is a different word.
La palabra semana es diferente.
The word day, hermia, does not appear in the text.
La palabra yom no aparece en el texto.
The word week does not
La
appear.
palabra semana no
The word
aparece.
day does not
Y
appear.
la palabra día no aparece
Nowhere
en ningún lugar.
in Greek literature,
En la literatura
Plato.
griega, Plato,
Socrates,
Sócrates,
Aristotle,
Aristóteles,
is the word Shabbat ever used for a week of days?
se usa el Shabbat para una semana
Nowhere.
de días en ningún lugar.
Not even in Greek secular literature.
Ni siquiera en la literatura griega secular.
I believe it's a different word. I don't have it on the tip of
Creo
my
que es
tongue.
una palabra diferente y no la tengo aquí.
Something similar to Adaroma, Aradoma. We covered it a couple of weeks ago. Okay. So I don't know if you got that, but I just want to say it again.
No sé si lo entendieron, pero quiero decirlo de nuevo.
Nowhere in the writings of Greek culture.
En ningún lugar en los
Forget the
escritos
Bible. Forget the
de
scriptures.
la escritura, esto mata.
Socrates,
Sócrates,
Plato,
Plato,
Play-Doh. Like the children, Play-Doh. They play with the dough, right? Aristotle,
Aristóteles,
Greek philosophy,
filosofía
Greek
griega,
literature.
literatura griega.
Never one time
Nunca en ningún momento
is the word for a 7-day week
no se usa la palabra para describir un intervalo de 7 días o semana.
called a Shabbat.
No se conoce como Shabbat en
And
griego.
here,
Y aquí
the translators see Sabbaton,
los traductores vemos de ellos sabatón,
they put in the word week
pero ponen la palabra semana
or day one
o el primer día
of a week.
de una semana,
Day one of a week.
primer día de una semana,
When it does not match any other literature.
cuando no compagina con ninguna otra literatura.
Again, the Hebrew.
Una vez más el hebreo.
Ube'echad b'Shabbat. And on one of the Shabbats at sunrise,
Y en uno
the
de
women
los-
arrive, the women arrive, the women arrive.
En uno de los Shabbats al amanecer las mujeres llegan.
Wow. This took me 34 years.
Esto me llevó 34 años.
Took me 34 years.
34 años.
Now go to Luke 24.
Vamos a Lucas 24.
So they did arrive at sunrise.
Así que sí llegaron al amanecer.
Which sunrise?
¿Qué amanecer?
One of the weekly Shabbats,
En uno de los Shabbats semanales.
right? After Shabbat had passed.
Después de que pasó el Shabbat.
Wow. So in Matthew 28:1 and Luke and Mark 16:1,
Así que en Mateo 28:1 y en Marcos 16:1.
how many Shabbats do you have?
¿Cuántos Shabbats hay?
The translators didn't know that,
Los
and
traductores
or they didn't want you to know that.
no sabían eso. Y
Or maybe they didn't know that.
que ustedes lo supieran o quizás sí lo sabían.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
Les voy a dar el beneficio de la duda.
Now go to Luke 24.
Vamos a Lucas 24.
This is Dr. Freed,
Este es el Dr. Freed.
Dr. Daniel Freed.
Daniel Freed.
Ube'echad b'Shabbat, on one of the Shabbats,
En uno de los Shabbats.
Lifnei Olat, we turned about the word burnt offering today, Olah, same word. Lifnei Olat, or before the ascension
Antes de la ascensión
of Hashachar.
de Hashachar,
Shachar means the dawn.
del amanecer.
Have you ever heard of Shacharit?
¿Han oído de Shachrit?
The prayers of Shacharit?
Las oraciones de Shachrit.
The Shachar.
Es el Shachar.
Satan is called what?
Ben.
Ben Shachar,
Satanás se conoce como Ben
the
Shachar,
son of the
El hijo
morning, Ben
del
Shachar,
amanecer.
the son of the morning.
El hijo del amanecer.
As on one of the Shabbats,
En uno de los Shabbats,
before
antes
rose the morning,
de que amaneciera,
Ba'u el kever, they came to the cave.
llegaron a la cueva
Vativ ena et hasamim, bringing the spices.
trayendo las especias.
Asher hechinu, which they brought.
¿Qué trajeron?
Emahem od acheret, and with them others. Let me just double check.
Con ellas habían
Yeah.
otras personas.
Which they prepared, and others came with them.
Y otras,
Now-
otras vinieron con ellas.
Now in Luke 24:1,
En Lucas 24:1
we can read it in the English this way.
podemos leerlo en el inglés de esta manera.
Early in the morning,
Temprano por la mañana,
on one of the weekly
en
Shabbats,
uno de los Shabbats semanales,
in Hebrew, be'echad
en el hebreo, Behad,
b'Shabbat.
Bashabat.
Now read for me the Greek, please. Do we see Miaton Sabbaton there? Luke 24:1. Read that for me.
Yes, and day one of the Sabbath,
Forget one. That word is not in the Greek. Miaton Sabbaton, yes?
absolutely.
That's the way it starts, yes?
Yes.
On one of the Shabbats, go ahead.
En uno de los Shabbats,
Go ahead. Continue.
At deep dawn,
Deep dawn means what? First crack. First crack of dawn. At the first crack of dawn,
el
when?
inicio del
Sunday?
amanecer,
8th day? No, when? Miaton Sabbaton.
en uno de los Shabbats,
In Hebrew, Be'echad b'Shabbat. So in Luke 24:1,
así que en Lucas 24:1,
face this way for the microphone. So in Luke 24:1,
en Lucas 24:1,
we only have one Shabbat.
solo tenemos un Shabbat.
In Matthew and Mark, we have two Shabbats.
En Mateo y en Marcos tenemos dos Shabbats.
In the third witness, we have one Shabbat,
En el tercer testigo tenemos a un Shabbat,
not two.
no a dos.
And what does that witness tell us?
¿Qué nos dice ese testigo?
At dawn,
Que al amanecer,
on one of the
en
Shabbats,
uno de los Shabbats,
they arrived.
llegaron.
So did he rise on the 18th of Aviv?
Así que se levantó en el 18 de Aviv.
But when?
¿Pero cuándo?
When they got there in the morning,
Cuando llegaron al amanecer,
he was already gone.
él ya se había ido.
Well, but yo, dude, slow down. But that don't equal 3 days and 3 nights.
Eso no es igual a 3 días y 3 noches.
15 to the
Del
16th,
15 al 16,
16, 17, 17, 18.
16 al 17 y 17
You
al
got to
18.
wait till sundown
Tienes que esperarte hasta la puesta del sol
to have 3 days and 3
para
nights.
tener 3 días y 3
Right?
noches. ¿Sí?
Wrong.
Equivocado.
100. That's correct. 100% wrong.
100% equivocado.
When did he begin to sweat great drops of blood?
Cuando comenzó a sudar grandes gotas de sangre.
When in the 14th?
Cuando en el 14.
in the night.
At night.
A la puesta del sol.
14 to 15, 15 to
14,
16, 16 to
15
17,
a 16, 16 a 17.
15, 16, 17. In the morning of Shabbat,
Al amanecer del Shabbat,
3 days and 3 nights were now what?
3 de Aviv y 3 de Lot
Finished.
ya se habían concluido.
And the 14th and the 15th are tied together.
Y el 14 y el 15 se unen.
They're tied together.
Están unidos.
In Judaism, the Passover is the Feast of Unleavened Bread.
En el judaísmo la Pascua es la fiesta de los
And the
ácimos
Feast
sin
of Unleavened
levadura.
Bread is Passover.
Y la fiesta de los ácimos sin
Even though they're
levadura
different
es
in
la
Torah, they've
Pascua.
become one.
Aunque son diferentes en Torah, son uno.
Bein Harbayim, between the evenings
Entre las tardes
of the 14th
del 14
and the 15th.
y el 15.
Between the evenings, Bein Harbayim,
Entre las tardes
of the 14th
del
to
14
the 15th,
y al 15
they are connected.
se conectan.
Those days are connected.
Esos yamim se
He
conectan.
bled on the 14th,
Derramó su sangre el 14
and that connection,
y esa
and he
conexión
continued to bleed even
y
more
continuó derramando sangre aún más
on the 15th.
en el
You
15.
wanted to say something?
Just with the 15th, 16th, and 17th, you have both components of Yom and Laila. Solo con el 15, 16 y 17 tenemos ambos componentes de Yom y Laila. It does not necessarily have to be 100%.
72 hours.
72 hours. No tiene que
You're
ser
right.
al 100% 72 horas.
You're right. That's man's invention. Well, brother, it has to be 72 hours. No, it doesn't. It has to have 3 components of night and day.
Tiene que tener 3 componentes de Yom y Laila.
But with my understanding, you still get to 72.
Pero con mi entendimiento, de todos modos, tiene uno a las 72.
Bottom line is, Luke is a witness.
But he starts suffering even from the 13th, which is...
Luke is a witness.
Lucas es un
Now go to Yochanan.
Vamos a Juan, Yohanan.
Yochanan, chapter 20.
Yohanan 20.
And this may not mean much to some people,
Quizás esto no sea mucho para algunas personas,
but if Yahusha said
pero si Yahusha dijo
that he was the Adonai of the Shabbat,
que él es el Adón del Shabbat,
that he was the Adon
el Adón del Shabbat,
of the Shabbat, that he didn't say I am the Adon of every equal day.
él no dijo que soy el Adón de todo Yom
He
igual.
didn't say I am the Adon of the 8th day, which speaks of the coming kingdom,
No dice que soy el Adón del octavo Yom, que habla del reino venidero,
although thematically that's there.
aunque temáticamente ahí está.
He said, no,
Dijo, no,
I rested on the
yo
Shabbat,
descansé en el Shabbat
and I will bring you life
y
on the
les
Shabbat.
traeré Chaim en el
So
Shabbat,
the Shabbat is very important.
en el Shabbat of Chaim.
On the Shabbat of Chaim.
Y ese Shabbat es muy importante, y además es el Shabbat de Chaim, el 18
So now-
de Aviv.
We go to Yochanan,
Vamos a Yohanan Juan,
Yahuchanan chapter 20,
capítulo 20, verso
verse 1.
1.
And Jesse will confirm what I'm saying.
Y ella confirmará lo que estoy diciendo.
Vayehi be'echad b'Shabbat, and it was miatan sabbaton. It's the Hebrew way of saying miatan
Y
sabbaton.
aconteció en uno de los Shabbats, Miatón Sabbatón,
And it was on one of the Shabbats,
y aconteció en uno de los Shabbats,
lifnot haboker,
antes de la mañana,
before boker.
antes del amanecer,
And he was missing.
y ya no estaba ahí.
Be'od choshech, while it was still dark.
Mientras que todavía estaba oscuro,
V'tavo Miriam Hamagdalit, and came Miriam the Magdalite,
y vino Miriam la Migdalita
El HaKever,
a la cueva,
to the grave,
al sepulcro,
to the cave.
la tumba,
Vatare, and saw
y vio
et ha'even, the stone,
que la piedra
musara, moved.
había sido movida.
That's where we get the English word move.
Musara,
Musara.
musara.
What's the English word for what is the Hebrew word for going on spying out the land?
¿Cuál es la palabra hebrea para ir a espiar
Tour.
la
You ever
tierra?
go on a tour?
Tour. Ha sido a un
When
tour.
when Yahweh sent the 12 spies, it says they went to
Turistas.
to tour the land.
Fueron a ir de turistas a la tierra.
In English,
A espiar la
when we
tierra.
go on a tour, we're what? Becoming familiar
Cuando vamos en un tour nos estamos familiarizando
with a strange land.
con una tierra ajena.
Do not be deceived, friends.
No sean engañados, amigos.
Every language your grandmother taught you
Todo idioma que te enseñó tu abuela
comes from Hebrew.
viene del hebreo.
Yahweh is not a liar.
Yahuwah no es mentiroso.
Baruch Hashem,
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Yahuwah. And it was
¿Y aconteció qué?
Miaton Sabbaton,
Era Miatón Sabbatón.
before the Booker,
Antes de la boca,
while it was still dark,
mientras que todavía estaba oscuro,
etc., etc.
y de ahí en fuera
Miriam came,
llegó
Miriam of Magdala,
de Migdalá
and saw the stone taken
y vio
away.
la piedra quitada.
So clearly they arrived on
Así
Shabbat
que claramente llegaron en el
at
Shabbat,
sunrise.
al amanecer.
What have I believed? What have many of us believed all these
¿Qué
years?
hemos creído muchos de nosotros todos estos años?
That as Shabbat was ending, he
Que así como
rose.
Shabbat acababa, él se había levantado.
Hallelujah.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Whenever I can recover truth, I get excited.
Cada vez que puedo recuperarla, me animo. La realidad.
Any kind of truth regarding life and resurrection and hope
Cualquier
that
tipo de
confirms Shabbat, I get excited.
que confirma el Shabbat, me excita.
It confirms that Shabbat
Confirma que el
is
Shabbat
special.
es especial.
Not because just of the day he
No
rested,
solo porque fue el yom en que
but the
descansó,
day he appeared.
pero en el yom que se apareció,
So it's even more reason
es aún más razón
to get excited
de animarse
about Shabbat.
acerca del Shabbat. Plus, everybody would be gathered in one place,
Ah,
not
which
working at different
you
places.
beat me to the proverbial punch.
Y además todos iban a estar en un solo lugar reunidos, sino
Thank
en
you.
sus oficios trabajando dispersos por todo donde quiera.
Go to Yochanan 20,
Vamos a
and you'll
Juan
see it
20.
even more clearly
Y veremos con más claridad
in verse 18 and 19.
en los versos 18 y 10.
Stay in John 20,
Juan 20, versos
Yochanan 20,
18 y 19.
18 and 19.
18 y 19.
Stay there. Miriam from Magdala,
Y Miriam de Migdala,
V'tavo Miriam HaMagdalit, came Miriam the Magdalite,
llegó Miriam de Migdala
V'tisaper, and gave an account
y les contó
El HaTalmidim,
a los Talmidim,
to the taught ones,
a los aprendices,
Ki ra'ata, that she had seen
que ya había visto
Et HaAdon, the master,
al Adón, al maestro,
V'kazot dabar eleha, and she was thus speaking that message to them.
y así les dijo este mensaje a ellos,
So that he had spoken these things,
que él le había dicho estas cosas,
and she was now speaking those things to
y
them.
ella les está diciendo estas cosas
She
a
came
ellos.
and told the Talmidim
Fue y les dijo a los Talmidim
that she had seen
que
the
ya había
master.
visto al maestro.
Hello?
Hola.
That she had seen
Que ya había
the
visto
master.
al maestro.
But earlier in John 20,
Pero anteriormente en Juan 20,
she saw the master
él vio al soberano
right before sunrise
antes del amanecer,
on Shabbat,
en el Shabbat,
the 18th of Aviv.
el 18 de abril.
She now tells the disciples.
Y les dice a los aprendices,
Now don't miss this.
y no se pierdan eso.
Verse 19.
Verso 19.
Verse 19.
Verso 19.
Are you with me?
¿Está conmigo?
I'm with you, Rabbi. Praise your Yah. Vayehi le'et erev. Now I'm doing my own translation. I'm not using Dr. Dan. Okay.
Voy a usar mi propia traducción, no voy a usar el Dr. Dan.
So this is Kanachowski word
Este
for
es
word.
Konechowski, palabra por palabra.
I'm one of those weird. Jesse knows this. I'm one of those weird rabbis,
Soy uno de esos rabinos extraños,
messianic, that
mesiánicos,
believes in the Mashiach,
que creen en el Mashiach
that actually read Hebrew.
y que en realidad
My
creen
question
el
is, why
hebreo.
would you go to anybody that didn't understand Hebrew?
Pero mi pregunta es, ¿por qué irías a cualquier persona que no entienda el hebreo?
Should not be a big deal.
No debería de ser gran cosa.
Should be the rule rather than the exception.
Debería de ser la regla en lugar de la excepción.
So next time somebody asks you, well, give me 4 reasons why you go to Kanachowski and not to Shmagogo.
Así que
And Mr.
cuando
Magoo.
te vuelvan a preguntar por qué vas con Konechowski, dame 4 razones.
Because Kanachowski reads, understands, and speaks Hebrew.
Porque Konechowski lee, entiende y habla el hebreo.
That's one of the reasons.
Esa es una de las razones.
And that comes in handy. When you're studying Torah, that does come in
That
handy.
sounds like 3 reasons right there.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. Abyssal. I speak as much Yiddish as the Amish speak Yiddish, like abyssal. Ich kann reden ein bisschen, ich kann verstehen ein bisschen, but sometimes when Benjamin talks to me, I get lost. So my German is not too good. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Practicito y shh.
Vayehi le'et erev, and it was at the time of the evening or the same evening.
Y fue en la misma tarde.
Let me change that. Vayehi le'et erev, it was the time of the evening.
Y fue en la tarde,
I'm in John
en el
20:19.
tiempo de la tarde, Juan
Follow me. I'm in John
20.
20:19.
Juan 20, 19.
And it was at the time of the evening.
Y fue en el tiempo de la tarde.
By the way, time in Hebrew is ayin tav.
Y el tiempo en hebreo es Ayin Tav.
Ayin tav.
Ayin Tav.
It's pronounced et.
Pronunciado Et.
Yahusha is aleph tav.
Yahusha es Aleph Tav.
Pronounced et.
Pronunciado Et.
What is the point?
¿Y cuál es el punto?
Yahusha and time are pronounced the same way.
Yahusha y tiempo se pronuncian de la misma
One with an
manera.
aleph, one with an ayin.
Uno con Aleph y otro con Ayin.
Meaning he is the father of time.
Quiere decir que él es el Abba del tiempo.
Whoa.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Whoa. Doesn't Isaiah 9:6 tell us the same thing?
Que no nos dice Isaías.
Unto us a child is born, a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and he shall be called what? The father of time,
Se conocerá como el Abba del tiempo.
the everlasting father,
El Abba
the
perpetuo.
father of all
El
time.
Abba de todos los tiempos.
So it's interesting play on word
Así que es un juego de palabras interesante.
that in Hebrew,
Que en el hebreo,
time and aleph tav
tiempo y Aleph
are
Tav
pronounced the same
se pronuncian de la misma
because
manera.
aleph tav controls ayin tav.
Aleph Tav controla Ayin Tav.
Because aleph tav controls ayin tav.
Porque Aleph Tav controla Ayin
Because
Tav.
aleph tav controls ayin tav.
Porque Aleph Tav controla
Because
Ayin
aleph
Tav.
tav controls ayin
Porque
tav.
Aleph Tav controla Ayin Tav.
You can tell I'm looking for a good old man. and I found none. Oh, I got one. Now I can go on. Bayom Hahu, on the same
En
day.
el mismo yom.
What day?
¿Qué yom?
What boys?
¿Qué yom?
Rental boys? What day? The same day. What day?
El mismo
Benjamin.
yom.
What day?
Shabbat.
What day? The same day. Well, we're gonna go back. Let's Shabbat.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat. Shalom to
Shalom.
you too. No. Go back to verse 1.
Regresemos al verso 1.
And it was Miaton Sabbaton on
Yeah.
one of the Shabbat.
Miatón Sabatón, en uno de los Shabbats,
Before the sunrise.
antes del amanecer.
Yahusha's MIA.
Yahusha ya no está ahí.
And the women did not find
Y
him.
las mujeres no lo encontraron.
Now in the same context.
Pero en el mismo contexto,
Verse 19.
verso 19.
It was evening.
Ya fue la tarde
Bayom Hahu.
del mismo
On
yom.
the same exact. Well, in New York we put a
Del
little bit
mismo
different. I'm
yom.
going to leave that word out. On the same day.
En el mismo yom.
You know what I'm talking about. It begins with a fork. On the same day.
En el mismo yom.
In the evening.
En la tarde.
The same day that he rose.
En el mismo yom que resucitó.
On Shabbat.
En el Shabbat.
At sunrise.
Al
Not
amanecer.
evening. Vehu echad. Bayom hahu.
Bayom Hahu.
On the same day.
En el mismo yom.
Bayom hahu.
Bayom Hahu.
Vehu. What day was it? And
Yom
it, or he, literally can be he.
Y él,
Here the day is
literalmente,
referred to as a he.
aquí el yom se refiere como masculino.
On the same day,
En el mismo yom,
he, that day, he being
ese yom siendo
Miaton Sabbaton,
Miatón Sabatón,
or in Hebrew,
o en el hebreo,
Echad Ba Shabbat,
Echad Ba Shabbat,
meaning the same night,
queriendo decir la misma tarde
on the same Shabbat,
del mismo Shabbat,
on one of the
en
Shabbats,
uno de los Shabbats,
Ka'asher Nisgeru, when they were in
cuando
assembly,
estaban en asamblea,
Toldot Habayit, inside the house,
dentro de la casa,
when the doors were shut inside the
cuando
house,
estaban las puertas cerradas dentro de la casa,
where the Talmidim,
en donde los Talmidim,
HaTalmidim Mirat HaYehudim, the Talmidim were hiding in fear of the Jews.
estaban escondidos por causa de temor a los judíos.
Asher nikbetzu sham HaTalmidim Agadat Vayavo, and came
Y vinieron.
Yahusha
Llegó Yahusha
Vayamod Binehem, and stood before their
y
eyes.
estuvo delante de ellos,
Inayim, not in their midst, but in their eyes.
enfrente de
He
sus
popped
ojos,
up in front of their
y se
eyes.
presentó enfrente de sus ojos
It says he appeared in their midst,
y se apareció en medio
but in
de ellos.
Hebrew he appeared in front of their eyes.
Pero en el hebreo se apareció delante de ellos
Vayomer Alehem, said to them, Shalom
y
Aleichem,
les dijo Shalom Aleichem
or Shalom Lachem,
o Shalom Lachem,
peace be to you.
Shalom sea a ustedes.
So watch this.
Vean esto,
He rises at
se
sunrise
levanta al amanecer,
on Shabbat,
before sunrise,
before sunrise.
antes del
The
amanecer,
same day,
en ese mismo
the
yom,
weekly
de
Shabbat,
ese Shabbat semanal,
Aviv 18,
el 18 de Aviv,
the doors were shut
estaban cerradas las puertas
because the students were assembled
que los aprendices estaban
in
reunidos
fear of the
en
Jews.
temor a los judíos.
Yahusha,
Yahusha,
knowing it was Shabbat,
sabiendo que era Shabbat,
came and joined the Shabbat assembly
a unirse con la asamblea de Shabbat, Baruch Hashem Yahuwah,
because they were meeting Miaton
que
Sabbaton.
estaban reunidos en uno de los Shabbats.
They were keeping Shabbat.
Estaban guardando el Shabbat.
So the rabbi shows up
Así que el rabino se presenta,
because that's where his students
que
are.
ahí están sus aprendices,
In assembly, obeying the command to gather on
en
Shabbat.
asamblea obedeciendo la orden de reunirse en el Shabbat.
That's the language.
Ese es el idioma,
That's the actual
ese
language.
es el idioma actual.
Now you know I threw in that F before.
Ya saben por qué.
Whoa. Fork.
Fantastic,
Fork.
fantastic,
That same fork day, man.
fantastic.
Let's get that religion. What is religion? Recycled demons.
Fabulous.
Legions that are recycled with different masks.
Fantastic.
Asa was right.
And fabulous.
Euroclidon.
Not fork.
Cledon. In Crete, I left you in Crete. He loves when I imitate him. He's a good hears. Hears.
An Italian fork.
An Italian fork. Oh, hallelujah. So check this out. So he He rises before sunrise on Shabbat.
Se levanta antes del amanecer en el Shabbat
Later that same
y
day,
después en ese Yom,
the same evening,
en esa misma
in the
tarde,
Shabbat Miatan Sabbaton,
durante la reunión del Shabbat,
Hebrew Echad Beshabbat,
Echad Shabbat,
meaning they were assembled
estaban asamblados
As
reunidos
one.
como uno
in the Shabbat,
en el Shabbat,
on one of the
en
Shabbats.
uno de los Shabbats.
They were celebrating as one
Estaban celebrando como uno
in the
en
Shabbat,
el Shabbat,
on one of the
en
Shabbats.
uno de los Shabbats.
They didn't get together to say, Mary has something to tell
Se
us.
reunieron para decir, María tiene algo que decir.
They were already celebrating
Ya
Shabbat.
estaban celebrando el Shabbat.
Let's get together because there's a rumor that Yahusha is going to appear.
Reunámonos porque hay rumor que se va a aparecer.
Nope. The only thing different on this Shabbat
No, lo único que era diferente en este Shabbat
was that the door was closed.
es que la puerta estaba cerrada,
It was locked.
estaba trancada,
It was just like any other Shabbat.
como cualquier otro Shabbat.
Are you with me, guys?
Amén.
It was just like any other Shabbat.
Era como cualquier otro Shabbat.
Every other Shabbat, who was their teacher?
Todo otro Shabbat, ¿quién era su maestro?
Yahusha.
Yahusha.
Every Shabbat, he got together with his
Shabbat
Talmidim
se reunía con sus talmidim
and he taught them.
y les
So
enseñaba.
why would this Shabbat be any different?
Porque iba a ser este Shabbat diferente.
The only thing that made it different,
Lo único que lo hizo diferente
they were in fear of the Jews.
es que estaban en temor de los judíos.
So the door was locked.
Así que se atrancaba la puerta. Se
Everything else
trancó.
was the same.
Lo demás estaba
They were
igual.
where they were supposed to be,
Estaban donde tenían que estar.
keeping the Shabbat the way they were
Guardando
supposed to,
Shabbat como tenían que hacerlo.
and Yahusha also
Y Yahusha igual,
being their teacher.
siendo su maestro. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Does that blow your mind?
Que no les asombre esto.
Is it important?
¿Es importante?
You
Yes.
decide it. Is it another one of
Decídelo
those
tú.
calendar issues?
¿Es uno de esas otras cuestiones de calendario?
You decide.
Decídelo tú.
But I'll tell you what,
Pero yo te digo algo.
anything that confirmed that what we're doing today is correct.
Cualquier cosa que confirme que lo que estamos
Encourages
haciendo
me.
es correcto, me anima.
So if we assemble on Shabbat like we're supposed to and like we do every week,
Así que si
guess
nos
who
reunimos
may show up?
en el Shabbat como estamos supuestos a hacer y como lo hacemos cada semana, ¿quién creen que se va a presentar?
And then he says what?
Y luego dice ¿qué?
He says, Shalom Lachem.
Shalom lachem.
I'm going to read this again. It's so beautiful
Lo
in the
leeré de
Hebrew.
nuevo porque es tan precioso en el hebreo.
If you're just joining us, we're in John 20:19.
Si acaban de unirse con nosotros, estamos en Juan 19, 20 y verso 19.
And being the evening of the same weekly
Y
Shabbat.
siendo la tarde del mismo Shabbat,
The Hebrew is pronounced
en el hebreo,
Bayom Hahu.
Bayom Hahu.
We sing it in the liturgy.
Bayom
Bayom Hahu.
Bayom Hahu.
Yeah. So in that day, we sing it. In that day, in that same day, in the evening of the 18th. The master didn't rise in the evening after Shabbat. What did he do in the evening on Shabbat?
¿Qué hizo la tarde del
He
Shabbat?
gathered with his
Se
students.
reunió con sus aprendices.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
So tell your church friends, Yeshua, the first thing he did when he wrote,
Dile a tus amigos de la iglesia que lo que primero hizo Yahusha cuando resucitó es que
the first thing he did when he rose the dead is keep Shabbat.
de entre los muertos lo primero que hizo fue guardar el
The
Shabbat.
first thing he did.
Lo primero que hizo, Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Yes. Yes. Ooh. Hallelujah.
What would Yahweh do?
Wow. Baruch Hashem
Baruch
Yahuwah.
Hashem
The
Yahuwah.
door was closed.
Estaba
Okay.
cerrada, estaban atracadas.
That means only Yahusha can get in.
Solo Yahusha podía meterse.
Anybody else had to go to a different Shabbat meeting.
Todos los demás tenían que ir a otra reunión. de
Only
Shabbat.
one can join that Shabbat
Solo uno se podía unir a ese Shabbat
to prove that he had risen.
para comprobar que había resucitado.
Because he was the door.
That's the other thing. The doors were shut.
The doors were shut.
Huh. How did he get in?
How did he get in?
¿Cómo entró si las puertas estaban
Walked
atrancadas?
right through.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Acts 20.
Hechos 20.
Maseh Shlichim.
Maseh Shlichim.
Is anyone enjoying? Maseh Shlichim.
Hechos capítulo 20.
This is proof.
Esto es prueba.
Jesse, check that for me in the Greek. Do you see a Miaton Sabbaton there?
Where are we at?
John 20:19.
I did, yes.
You already did? So, in other words, later that day, Miaton Sabbaton. In other words, later that day on one of the Shabbats, yes?
Está Miaton Sabaton.
Sure, go ahead. Yep. Mhm. Yep. Absolutely. Go ahead.
I gotta get back.
Okay, John 20. Just try to read it without all the English additions. John 20:19.
Juan 20:19, leyendo del Polígonos.
It being then late in that day,
Stop. Late in that day.
Y siendo más tarde en ese
What
yom.
day was that day?
¿Y qué yom era ese?
in the day one of the
Forget that. Greek. Miaton, Sabbaton. So the same day, right?
En ese mismo yom.
Miaton, Sabbaton. Same day.
Miatón, Sabatón.
Same thing as the Hebrew.
Igual que el hebreo.
Thank you.
Toda razón.
Is that word? Okay. On one of the Sabbaths.
Yeah.
One of the Sabbaths. One of the Shabbats. Or Echad b'Shabbat. Okay. Acts 20, verse 7.
Hechos 20, verso 7.
Let me read you the way this reads in every Bible, including the RST&E, and that's why I had to spend.
1300.
Yeah. Yeah.
Déjenme
You know what I
leer.
read.
Este verso en toda escritura está mal, hay error,
Because it was that important to me.
incluso en las previas ediciones de restauración,
Baruch Hashem
pero
Yahuwah.
me gasté $1,300 para hacer la corrección y poder actualizar esto.
Here's how it reads in all translations.
Así es como se ve en todas las traducciones.
Acts 20, verse 7.
Hechos 20, verso 7.
On the first day of the week, the disciples came together and they broke bread. Paul preached. First day of the week, the disciples came together. Paul preached.
En el
Right?
primer día de la
First day of the
semana,
week. The first day of the week, the disciples came together. Paul preached.
los aprendices se reunieron y predicó Pablo.
Oh, you mean Paul was sent by God?
Oh,
Gold,
Pablo fue enviado por Dios
as in toad, to take the disciples out of that Jewish legalism and put them in Sunday worship?
para sacar a los judíos del
Oh, that
legalismo
makes
judío,
sense.
ponerlos en la adoración dominical.
Not.
No es cierto.
Let's see what the Hebrew said.
Vemos lo que dice el hebreo.
When I saw this, I almost jumped out of my wineskin. Acts 20, verse 7.
Hechos 20, verso 7.
Vayehi be'echad b'Shabbat. And it was on one of the Shabbat.
Y fue en uno de los Shabbats,
Ka'asher asfu hatalmidim, when the disciples naturally would get together on Shabbat.
cuando los Talmidim se reunían en el Shabbat,
Lebotzah halechem, at the breaking
como
of bread.
típico, al romper o el partir del ejemplo,
Vayedaber itam Paulus.
Pablo
Sholiach Shaul spoke to them.
les proclamó, les enseñaba,
Amar lalechet misham, until they left there.
hasta que se fueron de ahí.
Lemacharat hayom. Okay, which means that they continued until the coming of the next day.
Continuaron hasta la venida del próximo yom.
Not midnight, the coming of the next day. But here's the point. The disciples, under the apostolic authority of Paul,
Pero este es el enfoque que los aprendices bajo la autoridad de enseñanza de Pablo
were celebrating Shabbat.
estaban celebrando el Shabbat.
The disciples had come together
Los aprendices se habían reunido
on Shabbat.
en el Shabbat.
Well, I wonder why.
Y me pregunto por qué.
On one of the Shabbats,
En uno de los Shabbats,
when the Talmidim came together on
cuando
Shabbat
los Talmidim se reunieron en el
to
Shabbat
break lechem,
para partir
like we're about to do in about 3 hours,
como estamos a punto de hacer en unas 3 Shaul,
Shaul proclaimed to them,
Shaul les proclamó.
and he was ready to leave the next Yom
Y estaba preparado para irse al próximo yom.
and continued his speech until the next Yom.
Y continuó su discurso hasta el próximo yom.
So the reason Paul was able to teach the disciples
Y la razón que Shaul pudo enseñarle a los aprendices
is because they had already come
es
together
porque ya se habían reunido
on one of the
en uno
Shabbats
de los Shabbats
to fellowship,
para convivir,
to learn
para
Torah,
aprender Torah
and then eventually to break bread.
y luego con el tiempo para partir lejen.
Isn't that beautiful?
Amén. ¿verdad?
Hello? You don't got to stretch.
No tienes que estirar.
You don't got to pull.
No tienes que jalar.
You don't have to
No
twist.
tienes que torcerte.
Wouldn't Paul have an audience on
¿Que
Shabbat?
no tendría Shaul una audiencia?
They were gathered.
en
They
los
were
Shabbat?
assembled. He would have an audience.
Si ya estaban reunidos, ya tenía una audiencia.
Now, what happened?
Pero ¿qué pasó?
They loved his teaching so much
Les gustó tanto la enseñanza que
that they basically
básicamente
stayed and continued to
se
gather
quedaron para mantenerse reunidos
and hear the word
para oír la palabra.
half the night,
La media laila,
chatzot halayla, half the night
la mitad de la laila,
toward the morning.
hacia el amanecer.
Shabbat was so beautiful.
Shabbat fue tan precioso
They didn't rush home.
que no se apuraron para ir a
And
casa.
Shabbat
Y Shabbat
became the 8th day.
se convirtió en el octavo yom.
Makes sense.
Hashem Yahuwah.
It makes sense.
Aleluya.
Moreover, on one of the Shabbats, the Talmidim were
Y
together.
más aún en uno de los Shabbats los Talmidim estaban reunidos,
They were ready to break bread.
listos para repartir lejem.
What were they missing?
¿Y qué les faltaba?
They were missing a teacher.
Les faltaba un maestro.
So Paul shows up to teach.
Así que Shaul se presenta.
They had the
a
Shabbat, they had the bread.
Tenían el Shabbat, tenían el lejem, el pan.
Can I get a witness?
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Baruch Hashem.
They needed somebody to divide the lejem,
Just can you close the bathroom?
to break the
Close
lejem
the
to
door.
them.
Thank you.
They
Yeah.
needed somebody to divide the word
They
for
needed
them.
a teacher.
Literally to cut it for them.
They
Necesitaban a alguien que les dividiera el lejem.
needed a teacher.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
So Paul
Así que Shaul
had gone
había ido
to Troas. Then he
A
said we
Troas.
sailed from Philippi. Then we came to Troas in 5 days.
Navegamos a Filipos y en 5 yamim llegamos a Troas.
And here's another proof.
Y aquí hay otra prueba.
Look at the end of
Another
verse.
7.
Look at the end of verse 6.
Miren el fin del
I'm not done.
6.
I'm gonna look at this.
Hmm,
Here's another proof.
Aquí hay otra prueba.
Same chapter in verse 6.
The next pattern.
Yep. Maaseh Shlichim 20 verse 6.
Maaseh Shlichim 20 verso 6.
V'anachnu yatzanu, and don't translate acharei. We left there acharei after Yimei Chag HaMasot, the days of unleavened bread. Okay, and etc. We came to Troas, and there we abode 7 days in Hebrew. Sham v'nashav, and we stayed.
Y nos quedamos.
V'nashav lashevet, to sit.
a
V'nashav,
sentarnos.
and there we sat.
Nos quedamos ahí sentados.
Sham
Allá.
shevet yamim.
Por 7 yamim. 7 días.
7 days for the feast of unleavened bread.
Para la fiesta de los ácimos sin levadura. And probably Bikurim.
And okay, right. So they were there for 7 days.
Estaban ahí por 7 yamim.
Since they were there for Chag Matzot,
Y ya que estaban ahí para la fiesta de los ácimos sin levadura,
as you said, Chag Matzot had come to an end.
que había concluido Hag Matzot.
What happened after the 7 days of Chag Matzot?
¿Qué pasó después de los 7 yamim de Hag Matzot?
It came to be one of the Shabbats.
Llegó el Shabbat.
So the 18th
Así que el 18
is the Shabbat of the resurrection.
es el Shabbat de la resurrección.
This looks like it's the 18th.
Parece que este es el 18.
I may be wrong, but
No,
look,
it was after that. After the
after the week of unleavened bread comes to a conclusion.
yes, that comes to a conclusion.
What's the first Shabbat after the week of unleavened bread?
21st, the 25th.
What's the first Shabbat after the week of unleavened bread?
25th.
Let's try that again. No, wait a second. You're right. Wait a second.
The 25th.
Okay, that's right. Unleavened bread ends the 21st. So Shabbat is
Concludes
the
it.
25th.
It's the week.
Good. So this was the Shabbat most likely of the 25th of Aviv.
Este quizás fue el Shabbat del 25
And for the
de Aviv.
18th of Aviv,
Para el 18 de Aviv,
which is still during unleavened
que
bread,
es todavía durante la
Paul
fiesta de los
was
ácimos sin
meeting
levadura,
with the disciples
Shaul estaba con los Talmidim
at Troas.
en Troas.
Does this blow your mind, guys? Paul not only celebrated the weekly Shabbat,
No solamente celebró Shaul el Shabbat semanal,
but also unleavened bread,
pero igual la fiesta de los ácimos sin levadura,
including Resurrection Day.
incluyendo el Yom de Resurrección.
And if he stayed one more
Y
day,
si se quedaba otro Yom,
which, like you said, you're right.
como usted dijo,
Because look,
porque mire,
that's beautiful. Look, he stayed till the end of Chag Matzot.
se quedó hasta el fin de Hag Matzot.
That's the 21st.
Ese es el 21.
Then he stayed for the next Shabbat,
Se quedó para el próximo Shabbat.
verse 7, Miatan Sabbaton,
Miatón Sabatón.
when the disciples were gathered to
Cuando
break
se
bread.
reunieron los aprendistas a partir lejem.
What day was that?
Que Yom era
The
ese,
25th
el 25
of Aviv,
de Aviv.
after Chag Matzot is over.
Después de que concluyó Matzot.
Now wait, then he stayed past midnight,
Y se quedó pasada la media laila
so he was ready for the morning.
y estaba listo para el amanecer.
What was the next morning?
Bikurim.
Why did he want to depart?
¿Por qué quería apartarse?
Why did he want to depart?
¿Por qué se quería ir?
That's an interesting question. Maybe he wanted to go to Jerusalem. I don't know.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Ujú.
Why did he want to depart on the 26th?
¿Por qué quería irse el 26?
I don't know. But it
So
sure
he
ma-
could get
it-
to Shavuot,
it-
the Ascension Feast.
you mean
Shavuot.
yes. But that was Bikurim.
Yes, the beginning of the count.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Baruch Hashem.
Go with me, please, to 1 Corinthians
Se fue
16.
en el principio de la cuenta. Vamos a
1 Corinthians 16.
Primera de Corintios capítulo 16. Corintia Aleph 16.
Hallelujah.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
It's everywhere.
Hallelujah.
And again, the word Sabbaton or
Una vez
Miaton
más,
Sabbaton
La palabra miaton sabaton, la frase,
is not used for a week or 7-day week.
no se usa para describir en el griego una semana o un intervalo.
Nowhere in
de 7 días.
Scripture,
En ningún lugar.
or not even in secular Greek
Ni
literature.
siquiera en la literatura secular griega.
You would think that if Sabbaton meant week,
Pensarías que si la palabra sabatón en griego quiere decir semana
or the first day of the week,
o el primer yom de la semana,
we would find it in Greek literature.
encontraríamos en la
Right, wouldn't you think
literatura
that?
griega.
If Miaton Sabbaton meant the first day of the
Si
week,
miaton sabatón significaría el primer yom de la semana. No.
you would expect to find it somewhere in Greek literature.
La encontrarías en algún lugar en la literatura griega. The word for Greek is evdomata.
The Greek word for week is abdomata.
Evdomata.
Abdomata.
And
So
the word for yom is imera.
the word for day is emeta.
Imera.
And the word for first is protos, not mia.
Y la palabra para primero es protos.
So
no
if it was
mía.
really the first day of the week, it should read protos,
Imera.
emera, adroma,
Evdomata.
abdomata.
Evdomata.
Protos, emera, abdomata.
Protos,
Never
imera,
miaton
evdomata.
sabbaton.
El
Never.
primer día de la semana tendría que ser protos, imera, evdomata.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Nunca dirían sabatón.
The proof is
Y
overwhelming.
la prueba es sobresaliente.
1 Corinthians 16:1.
Primera de Corintios 16:1.
Al davar kibbutz haterumot. Now regarding the gathering of the terumah,
En cuanto a la reunión de la ofrenda teruma voluntaria
le'ezrat hakdoshim, for the help of the set apart ones.
para la ayuda de los apartados,
Kasher tikanti lekehilot, as I have ordered the kehilot, the assemblies.
como les he ordenado a las congregaciones
Asher begalatia, that is in Galatia.
que están en Galatia, Gálatas,
Ken ta'asu gamatem, you also must do.
ustedes igual tienen que hacerlo.
This is an order.
Esto es una
This is
orden.
not a suggestion.
Esto no es una
I am
sugerencia.
ordering you like I am ordering Galatia.
Les estoy ordenando a ustedes como a los Gálatas.
Bekol echad
Que todos,
b'Shabbat,
como uno,
kada Shabbat,
cada Shabbat,
in Hebrew. Bekol echad b'Shabbat.
todo Shabbat.
Jesse, do that for me in Greek, please. I'm willing to bet it's Miaton Sabbaton.
Where are we at again?
1 Corinthians 16:2.
Primera de Corintios 16:2.
1 Corinthians 16:2. Every Shabbat,
Cada Shabbat.
first day of the week, is nowhere in the text.
El primer día
First
de
day
la
of the
semana
week is nowhere in the
no
text.
se encuentra en ningún lugar en el texto.
First day of the week is nowhere in the text.
No se encuentra en ningún lugar en
First
el
day of the
texto.
week is nowhere in the text.
No se encuentra en ningún lugar en
What's
el
nowhere
texto.
in the text? First day of the week. Talk to me, Jesse. 1 Corinthians 16:2.
According to one of the Sabbaths,
Thank you. There you go. Miaton Sabbaton. Even he got that
Miaton
right.
Sabatón.
On one of the every Sabbath,
Cada Shabbat.
every Shabbat, Yanicha etzlo ish, let a man take what is with him.
Que cada persona tome lo que tiene.
Mikem v'ye'etzer et aser, and let him give the 10%.
Y que
Eser
dé
ma'aser,
el
eser.
10%.
Let him give the 10th.
Y que dé el 10%.
Allah b'yado, as an ascension offering, b'yado, in his hand.
Lo que tenga en sus
Take the
manos.
10%
Que tome el 10%
and make it an
y
olah.
que lo haga un olá.
An olah,
Olá.
an ascension offering.
Una ofrenda de ascensión.
When?
Cuando
Every Shabbat,
cada Shabbat,
so that there be no collections
que no haya reuniones de
or gathering of money
ofrendas
when I come.
cuando yo llegue.
collect the tithe,
Colecta el diezmo
so there'll be no gathering of money
para que no se reúna dinero
when I arrive during the week.
cuando yo llegue durante la semana.
Gather the money on Shabbat,
Reúne el dinero en el Shabbat
so that when I come during the week,
para que cuando yo llegue en la semana
my expenses will already be paid.
puedan pagarse mis
The
gastos.
bills will already be paid.
Los gastos ya se hayan
We don't got to
cubierto.
waste time with that.
No tenemos que desperdiciar tiempo
If you
con
do what
ello.
you're supposed to do every
Si
Shabbat,
hace lo que tiene que hacer cada
you don't got
Shabbat,
to waste time
no
with that.
tenemos que desperdiciar tiempo con
So
ello.
again, miaton sabaton in the Greek,
Así que una vez más, miatón
as,
sabatón
as
en el
Jesse just
griego,
bore witness,
como Yishai acaba de dar testimonio,
and in the Hebrew, bekol echad b'Shabbat,
y en el hebreo bekoh echad b'Shabbat,
on every one of the Shabbat.
en cada uno de los Shabbats.
Mhm.
And what we had seen before is that the word in Greek for put aside, que habíamos pues visto en el griego que la palabra para apartar es titeto, tithe,
Titeto.
titeto.
That's where we get the word tithe.
De ahí sacamos la palabra tithe en inglés o diezmo, titeto, setting
Mhm,
apart.
mhm. Amen. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah. So, just to recap,
Para repasar,
Matthew 28,
Mateo 28,
Mark 16,
Marcos 16,
Luke 24,
Lucas 24,
John 20,
Juan 20,
Acts 20,
Hechos 20,
1 Corinthians 16.
1 Corintios 16.
You will find miaton sabaton
Encontrarán la frase miatón sabatón
in all of those
en
places,
todos esos lugares.
an assembly going on,
Una asamblea que está aconteciendo,
an assembly taking place.
una asamblea en activa.
And when Yahusha rises at sunrise on Shabbat,
Cuando Yahusha se resucita en el Shabbat,
he joins the assembly.
se une con la asamblea.
Paul travels, he finds the Shabbat assembly, he joins the assembly.
Saúl viaja y llega, encuentra una asamblea reunida y se une a ella.
Let me bring this all home.
Pero déjenme concluir con todo esto.
Then why in Barnabas chapter 15
Porque es que en Bernabé 15
and elsewhere
y en otros lugares
does it say we keep the eighth?
que dice que guardamos el octavo yom,
Because that is the day that our master
porque ese fue el yom en que nuestro soberano
was discovered risen from the
fue
dead.
descubierto resucitado de entre los
That's a
muertos.
good point.
Es excelente punto.
That's a good point.
Excelente punto.
Barnabas and the other apostles
Bernabé y los otros apóstoles
in their church writing
en sus escritos de la iglesia
tell us that on the first day of the week,
nos dicen que en el primer yom de la semana
they call it the eighth day.
lo llaman el octavo yom.
The master was found risen from the
El
dead.
soberano fue encontrado resucitado de entre los muertos.
Doesn't that contradict everything I just taught
Que
you?
no contradice todo lo que les acabo de enseñar.
Right? Doesn't that contradict everything?
Que no contradice todo.
And so we know that they called the eighth day, which was really the first day.
Y entonces sabemos que lo llamaban el octavo yom, que en realidad era el primero de la semana.
So we have an apparent what?
Así que tenemos aquí una aparente
We
contradicción.
have an apparent contradiction.
Una aparente contradicción.
Correct? Now,
¿Cierto?
the key word there is apparent.
La palabra clave ahí es aparente.
Apparent.
Aparente.
If we just learned that he rose at sunrise or just before sunrise on the weekly Shabbat after the annual Shabbat had passed,
Sí, acabamos de aprender que Yahusha resucitó en el Shabbat después de que pasó el Shabbat anual. Él resucitó en el Shabbat semanal.
remembering that in Matthew 28, verse 1
Acordándonos de Mateo 28:1
and 2
y 2
and Mark
y
16,
Marcos
we
16.
have two Shabbats.
Tenemos dos Shabbats ahí descritos.
In Luke and John, we have confirmation of the sunrise of the Shabbat.
Y en Lucas 24 y en Juan 20 tenemos la confirmación que él resucitó
Why does
antes del
Barnabas
amanecer
say
del Shabbat. ¿Por qué fue que Barnabé dice
That he was discovered risen
que fue descubierto
on
resucitado
the eighth day.
en el octavo yom?
We better be able to answer this
Más vale que podamos contestar esta
because
pregunta.
in the Siddur,
Porque en el Siddur
we have an eighth day liturgy,
tenemos una liturgia del octavo yom.
supposedly when he had risen from the dead.
Supuestamente cuando él resucitó de entre los
When in
muertos.
fact, we just learned he rose the day before.
Cuando de hecho hemos descubierto que resucitó el yom antes.
Inquiring mind
Las mentes que preguntan quieren saber,
want some answers.
quieren respuestas.
Answer.
Respuesta:
Who found out that he had risen from the dead?
¿quién descubrió que él había resucitado entre
On
los
Shabbat.
muertos?
Who
En el
found out on
Shabbat.
Shabbat?
The Miriams,
The Miriam,
las Miriams,
the women,
las mujeres
and one assembly.
y una asamblea.
Which assembly was that?
The
Close?
closest
Talmidim,
los talmidim más
who were
cercanos,
personally chosen by him.
que fueron especialmente escogidos por él,
First fruits, order.
las primicias, en
They
su
hear the
orden.
good news first.
Ellos oyen las alegres nuevas primero.
What about the other assemblies
¿Qué tal las otras asambleas
in Israel?
en Israel?
What about the other assemblies who were not assembled with disciples?
¿Qué tal las otras asambleas que no se reunían con los talmidim?
They discovered
Ellos
that
descubrieron
Yahusha had
que
risen
Yahusha había
through the
resucitado
word of Yahuwah
a través de la palabra de
the
Yahweh.
next day.
Al
The gospel
próximo
began to be preached the next day,
El
not on
evangelio
Shabbat. They didn't get in the
comenzó,
car and a donkey and start driving around Israel. He's risen, he's risen, he's risen. It was Shabbat.
fue el Shabbat. Ajá. Ellos comenzaron a predicar las alegres nuevas al próximo Yom. Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
The
Aleluya.
proclamation of the gospel
La proclamación del
went
evangelio
forth in full force and full authority and full fury
comenzó en total autoridad y completo furor
on the 8th day.
en el octavo Yom.
And most of Israel discovered him missing.
Y la mayoría de Israel lo encontró que ya había
On the
resucitado
8th day.
y que
Let me
estaba,
rephrase that.
desaparecido en el octavo
Nobody
Yom.
discovered that he was gone on Shabbat.
Nadie lo descubrió ausente en el Shabbat.
Except who?
¿Más quién?
The women
Las mujeres
and the disciples.
y los aprendices.
But what about the rest of Israel?
Pero ¿qué tal el resto de
Didn't he
Israel?
die for the sins of the whole
¿Que
world?
no murió por los pecados de todo el mundo?
Didn't he die to regather and restore both houses of
¿Que no
Israel?
murió para restaurar ambas casas de Israel?
So the first remnant of Israel, other than those 12,
El primer remanente más que esos 12
discovered
descubrieron
through the preaching of the good
a
news,
través de la predicación de las alegres
the first
nuevas.
time they heard that he was missing,
La primera
that he
vez
was
que
gone, that he had
escucharon
risen.
que había desaparecido, que ya se había ido, que había
For the
resucitado.
majority of Israel
La mayoría de Israel
was on the 8th day.
fue el octavo Yom cuando oyeron eso.
So Barnabas is writing
Así que los escritos de Barnabé
to hundreds,
está escribiendo a cienes,
thousands,
miles,
scattered.
esparcidos.
And he says, we celebrate the 8th
Y
day.
les dice, celebramos el octavo Yom,
Because that's a declaration of the coming kingdom,
porque esa es la declaración del reino
of a
venidero,
new day,
de un Yom nuevo,
of the coming reign of Yahusha
del reino de Yahusha venidero
and the Olam
y
Haba,
el Olam
the
Haba,
world to
el
come.
mundo que está por venir.
So we
Así que nosotros
celebrate the 8th day.
celebramos el octavo Yom.
Why?
¿Por qué?
We already celebrate Shabbat,
Ya celebramos el Shabbat,
but we don't celebrate the 8th
pero
day
no celebramos el octavo Yom,
because that's when the 12 found him missing.
porque ese es cuando los 12 lo encontraron ya ausente de su tumba.
We celebrate the 8th day
Celebramos el octavo Yom,
prophetically
proféticamente,
for what the Messiah will do
por lo que hará el Mashiach
in the coming kingdom.
en el reino
So
venidero.
we celebrate the
Así
Shabbat
que celebramos el Shabbat
as resurrection,
como resurrección
historic,
histórico,
but we can't stop.
pero no podemos parar.
We celebrate the 8th day
Celebramos el octavo Yom,
because the 8th
porque
day
el octavo Yom
speaks of the benefits
habla de los provechos
and the
y
promise
la promesa
of the one who rose on the 7th
del
day.
que resucitó en el séptimo Yom.
One does not negate the other.
Uno no niega al otro.
The 8th day is, notice it's not the first day.
Noten que no es el primer Yom.
The 8th day is a celebration of the promise
El octavo Yom es la
of the
celebración de la promesa del reino
and the world to come.
y el mundo que está por venir.
You see that?
¿Ven eso?
So Shabbat
Así que el
is
Shabbat
Shabbat.
es Shabbat.
And we remember the historical resurrection.
Y nos acordamos de la resurrección histórica,
But we also celebrate the 8th day.
pero igual celebramos el octavo Yom.
Because for most of Israel,
Que para la mayoría de Israel,
that's the first time they heard.
ese fue el primer Yom que
If they
oyeron.
weren't in that assembly on the same Shabbat, remember later the same Shabbat he appeared?
Si no estuvieron en esa asamblea a la cual se apareció más tarde en el Shabbat que
The
resucitó,
doors shut
estaban atrancadas las puertas
for fear of the
por temor a
unbelieving
los
Yehudi.
Yahudim, incrédulos.
If you were not in that
Si
assembly,
tú no estuviste en esa asamblea,
you first discovered
tú primero
the
descubriste la
Messiah had
noticia
risen
de su resurrección
the next day
al próximo Yom,
on the 8th.
en el octavo Yom.
You see how it all comes together?
Ven cómo todo se
Don't make
se
the mistake.
conecta.
Oh my gosh, we've been
No
preaching
cometan el
You've been
error
preaching wrong stuff.
de
No.
pensar que hemos predicado las cosas equivocadamente. No,
That was an exclusive club
ese fue un club exclusivo
who saw him
que lo vio
on Shabbat.
en el Shabbat.
All Israel
Todo Israel
first discovered this
Primero,
exciting news
descubrió estas noticias excitantes
on the 8th.
en el octavo
And we
Yom.
keep both.
Y guardamos ambos.
Shabbat because he rose before
El
sunrise,
Shabbat porque resucitó antes del amanecer.
and the 8th day
Y el octavo Yom
because that is the
porque esa
promise
es la promesa
of what he came to give
de lo
us,
que Él vino a darnos.
eternal life
La Jaim perpetua
and the Olam Haba.
y el Olam Haba.
And all the people
Y
of
todo el
Yahuwah
pueblo de Yahuwah
said,
dijo
Amen,
amén
amen.
y amén.
Just so, how does the new verse read? How did you translate the new verse on?
I can give you the sheet.
Oh,
I have it all on this sheet. I can give you the sheet.
so that's
Just like I did from here. Just like I did. But I got a funny feeling Yahuwah's going to look down from heaven and say, Moshe boy, it ain't about money with you, is it? No. I'll find a way to put that back in your pocket. If I know the master, I ain't worried.
Would you please announce the 8th Yom edition
Yes.
of
Rebbe and Rivka, please come forward wherever you is. As you mosey on
The
forward,
changes.
please. Yes. Our 8th day service will have a little change in its
Nuestro
format.
servicio del octavo Yom tendrá un cambio en su formato.
We're going to do maybe a little worship,
Vamos a hacer quizás un poco de adoración,
followed by call-in,
seguido por recibimiento de llamadas para consejería,
help,
ayuda,
conversation.
conversación.
It's going to be as interactive as we can make
Va a
it.
ser tan interactivo como lo podamos hacer.
We're going to be providing a toll-free number
Y vamos a proveer un número telefónico, un 800,
from the U.S. and Canada
para Estados Unidos y Canadá,
where you can call in
a donde pueden ustedes llamar
and
y
participate.
participar.
If you need prayer,
Si necesitan
we'll pray on
oración,
the air.
oraremos
If
en
you
el aire.
need counseling,
Si necesitan
we'll do
consejería,
general counseling on the air.
estaremos haciendo consejería general en el
There
aire.
may be times in the future where we do interviews.
Quizás hagan tiempos en el futuro cuando hagamos
We interview
entrevistas.
someone like Eddie Chumney
Entrevistemos a alguien como Eric Chamney
Rabbi
o
Asa.
al Rabino Asa.
So we want it to be much more
Queremos
interactive,
que sea mucho más interactivo,
less of a formal service,
menos servicio formal,
which is Shabbat.
que es Shabbat.
That's formality.
Esa es formalidad.
So Yom Shmini starting tomorrow at 11
Así que Yom Shmini comenzando mañana a las 11
will be a lot more
será mucho más
interactive.
interactivo.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah at 11 a.m.
Yep, and we'll give you the toll-free number mahar.
Les damos el número telefónico al ratito.
But it is already on the website.
Ya está en la página web.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem Yahuwah.
Everyone, please stand for the Shema.
Todo el mundo, por favor, de pie para el Shema.
But before we recite the Shema,
Pero antes de recitar el Shema,
Abba, we thank you
Abba, te damos
Yes.
muchas gracias
for healing, for restoration,
por sanación, por restauración,
for all those who need it.
por todos aquellos que lo necesitan.
I pray for wisdom
Te pedimos por
for each and
sabiduría,
every one of
por
us,
cada uno de nosotros,
how to care for our
cómo
bodies,
cuidar de nuestros
because it is
cuerpos,
the temple that Yahweh has
porque
given
ese
us.
es el templo que Yahweh nos ha dado.
I ask you, Abba, in the name of Yahusha
Te
HaMashiach,
pido, Abba, en el nombre de Yahusha, nuestro Mashiach,
to touch each and every
que
one
toques a cada persona, cada persona
is suffering from
que
cold,
esté sufriendo de resfríos,
from allergies,
de alergias,
from any kind of muscle aches
de cualquier dolor de músculos,
or joint problems.
dolores de coyunturas.
I pray especially for Minga, who is in the
Pido
hospital.
en especial por Minga, que está en el hospital,
Abba, that you would touch her,
que la toques, Abba,
that those bacteria would be out of her
que
body
esa bacteria se vaya de su cuerpo
quickly, in the name
rápidamente,
of Yahusha
en el
HaMashiach.
nombre de Yahusha HaMashiach.
And Yahweh's people said,
Y el pueblo de Yahweh dijo,
Amen.
Amen.
Hashem
Amen.
Yahuwah. Aleluya.
On the bottom of page 6.
Abajo en la página 6.
Shema
Israel, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod, Malchuto, Leolam Vaed, Yahuwah, Yahuwah, Yahusha HaMashiach,
Who Yahuwah, every knee.
every knee will that Yahusha, our Mashiach, who is Yahuwah. Amen. ואהבת את יהוה אלוהיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננת לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ושבתך ובקומך, וקשרתך לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטחתם במזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, ואהבת לרעך כמוך. And you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. And have these words which I command you this day be upon your heart, and you shall teach them diligently to your children, and speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you retire, and when you arise. And you shall bind them for a sign upon your hand, and let them be frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates. And you shall love your neighbor as yourself.
On the bottom of page 8,
Abajo en la página 8.
Kibbutz Galiot.
Get those shofars ready.
Tekah b'shofar, gadol l'kerutenu. V'sam nes, v'kabetz galiotenu. V'kabtzenu yachad mehera me'arba kanfot ha'aretz la'artzenu. Baruch atah Yahuwah.
Baruch Shemo.
V'kabetz nikei amo Yisrael. Sound the great shofar for our freedom, and raise the standard
together.
for our exiles, and gather us from the four corners of the earth. Blessed are you, Yahuwah, who gathers the dispersed of his people,
Israel. Yes, I will bring them one by one to your Torah and to your King Yahusha. Baruch Hashem. At this time, I would like to call on the ladies, the first ladies. Is that possible? First ladies? Is that possible? Is that actually possible in our culture? Call upon the first ladies of the Bet Knesset. Voice ladies. Mel and Anya, or Mel and Anya. It's like our first lady, Melania.
Oh,
Melania.
okay.
So before I go totally Meshuggah.
Betania.
Hey, what day is it?
It's Shabbat. Praise Yahuwah. It's Shabbat. Praise Yahuwah. It's Shabbat. Praise Shabbat shalom.
Smooth patrol.
Hero Israel, you must hear with understanding. And yes, I'm reprimanding, so reflect this set of thought. Listen with a humble heart, and you hero Israel. Will you be my chosen people? Will you choose to follow me? Do you know the love I have for you? I inside and try to sing. Will you be my chosen people? Will you choose to follow me? Do you know the love I have for you? I inside and try to sing.